So this is chapter 13. It's June 7th. So chapter 13th is on the field and the knower of the field. Kshetra and Kshetragya. Kshetra is the field and Kshetragya is the knower of the field. It can also be called the Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is the consciousness and Prakriti is matter. So consciousness and matter, or energy and matter. Um, Jnana, Gyam is knowing, Jnana is the knower. So, a lot of different terms are used here, but it basically means the same thing. So, this chapter starts another section of the Gita. So, this is the last section of the Gita, is from chapter 13 to 18. And these 6 chapters, they're focused on the knowledge of the self, the Gyan Yoga. So broadly speaking, there are 3 main sections of the Gita. I mean, apart from the Karma Yoga, Upasana, and the Bhakti Yoga, the Raj Yoga, and the Gyan Yoga. 3 broad sections of the first 6 chapters, the middle 6 chapters, and the last 6 chapters. They go according to the Mahavakya Tattvamasi. So it starts with Tat, Tvam, and Asi. The last portion is the oneness of the Jivatma with Brahman, or the oneness of Atma and Brahman. Yeah. So you can think of it as the last piece of the equation, where you explain what the jiva is, what the person is, then you explain what is Brahman, and then you say jiva, the individual, is the same as consciousness and there's only oneness. So that is how all the knowledge ends. It's the final culmination of knowledge is the knowledge of the self. And then when you dissolve into that self, into that consciousness, and realize your true nature, the culmination of that is called Jnana Yoga, and that is how you attain liberation. So in Sanatan Dharma, the main thing is about knowledge, the Jnana Yoga. That is the ultimate path. I mean, obviously, all of these paths are important, like Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga and Raj Yoga. They're all important, but they all have to finally culminate in the knowledge of the self. So this theme in the Gita, it was started earlier, in chapters 7 and chapter 8, where this explanation went into, if you remember, I don't know if you remember, in chapter 7, it talks about the eightfold Prakriti, and chapter 8 it talks about consciousness. It sort of takes a diversion in chapters 9, 10, 11, and 12 into more of the bhakti yoga, aspects, because Arjun asked certain questions, and certain doubts were in his, he still had certain doubts. So this chapter 13 actually picks up from where it was left off in chapter 8. So, but it's very well molded, with chapter 12. So if you remember, chapter 12 is about bhakti, but it's not simply bhakti. It describes a bhakt who is also has knowledge. So it is a knowledgeable bhakta. Okay, it's not simply just emotional worship or anything, but it is a devotee who has gained that knowledge. So it's a combination of both jnana and bhakti. So it towards the end of the 12th chapter, it goes more and more into the knowledge aspect. And that's how it's soldered here into the 13th chapter. So in this chapter, Sri Krishna will start with the knowledge of kshetra, of everything which constitutes matter, and then he will then speak of certain virtues that you need to have, to adopt, some purifications that you need to have, and finally we'll go into the description of consciousness. So the main thing here is how there is a distinction being made, or the discrimination is being given between, see, this is matter, okay? So once you recognize matter, you will easily be able to separate it from consciousness. See, like if you live your daily life, um, you don't think of the different levels of your existence, right? You just work as an integrated whole in the world. But once you understand that, oh, this is my body, this is my mind functioning, this is my intellect, and you start recognizing all these different aspects of your existence, you're able to separate the the witness, that you are, who is observing all these different aspects of your existence, so that separation can come. So, like for example, there is light that is flowing through a bulb. Now when you look at the bulb, it's all like one. The bulb and the electricity and light, it is all one. But when you look at it and you analyze it and you say, okay, there is a glass, then there's wire, and then there's electricity, and then there's resistance which causes that friction, which causes electricity. So when you see it aspect by aspect, you'll distinguish between the energy that is flowing through the bulb and the bulb. And when you see that within yourself, when you see that consciousness that is flowing through you, through these matter equipments, your equipments meaning your intellect, your mind, your breath, your body, and you see how you wake up in the morning from deep sleep, suddenly you start functioning, you become conscious. It is as though, this electricity finally comes back into this equipment and starts flowing. So when you start seeing this distinction, you become more and more aware of that consciousness distinct from matter. So that is why this chapter starts with defining everything which is matter, defining all those layers which constitute the equipment, the vessel that you are, the functioning that is happening through that. Because once you recognize that, it will separate from consciousness, and you can easily see this discrimination between matter and spirit. So that discrimination, that awareness of that separation, and is called jnanam. Okay, and the way that you can experience it, one of the ways that you can experience that process of separation, where you can see that distinction, is through meditation. Okay, so one of the ways, and Shri Ravi Shankar, I remember a long time ago, he was giving a commentary on Ishavasya Upanishad in Switzerland, I think, and I still remember that statement he made. He said, the only way, well, one of the only ways, but the meditation, the purpose of meditation is to experience consciousness. And so, this process of meditation was, if you remember, it was explained in chapters 5 and 6. So chapter 6 mainly was about the technique of meditation, what posture you should take, and all this kind of things, and what is the result, and the mind should be steady, and all this thing. But it never delved so much deeply into the description of consciousness itself, as it is now. So here it is giving you in this chapter, it is giving you more of the sort of substance, or the experience of meditation, of what that really is, the experience of consciousness during meditation, um, the awareness that you gain of consciousness through meditation. And even this chapter can be a meditation. Once you read all these different layers that you have, and different constituents that you have, when you sit for meditation, you can observe your body, you can observe the breath, you can observe your personality, and then slowly you will see that separation coming. So that is why this chapter is more about the deeper levels of meditation than chapter 6. So, chapter 6 was more about the technique. Mm, so, so basically, yeah, again, we will go through the equipment, the and the process of becoming aware of them, and what else? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this chapter verse by verse because it's very important. It's a little heavy, this knowledge is a little heavy. It's better if I go through this quickly, and so that there is no, sort of confusion about it. Okay, so I'm going to skip this first verse, which is in the Chinmaya Gita. There's a verse 1. In certain other Gita versions, you will not see this first verse, which is where Arjun asks the question. But I'm going to skip to the second one. So here, this chapter will start with Krishnji making a statement, and I'll just read the literal translation, and then we can discuss it. Okay. So this is chapter 13, verse 2. Sri Krishna says, "O Arjun, this body is called the field, and he who knows it is called Kshetragya, the knower of the field. By those who know them, Kshetra and Kshetragya." So it's fairly simple, right? This body is called the field, but it's not just this body. Okay, it's not just the individual body; it's the cosmic aspect also. So what is implied here is all physical bodies, whether it's your body, the animal body, the world of matter, everything, all the objects, whether it's a macrocosmic level or the microcosmic level, all of that is called kshetra. Okay, everything that can be experienced is kshetra. So see, you can experience your thoughts, you experience your feelings, you experience your emotions, all these emotions that you experience of happiness and sadness, that is also kshetra. So every aspect of experience is kshetra, and the one who is the experiencer or the knower, the observer, the witness, the sort of the one who is can see it separately from that feeling or object or whatever, is called the kshetragya. Now the person who can discriminate between kshetra and kshetragya, he is the wise one. Okay, so do you follow so far? So also kshetragya, one thing about kshetragya is that, see, you are the knower of the field, right? You are the witness, you are the experiencer, you are the pure consciousness, your awareness. That awareness that is experiencing through this body is called kshetragya, right? But it is that kshetragya is not just you. So let me explain it to you this way. See, everybody is experiencing, right? Like I am the kshetragya, my awareness, my consciousness is experiencing through this body. But it is not just my awareness, my consciousness, right? That same awareness, that same consciousness, that same field, okay, that same field is also functioning through you, is also functioning through everybody. So like I was telling you, right, this electricity that's going through the bulb, now the electricity is the same, so it flows through all the bulbs. It is not that it is that only that bulb's electricity, right? That electricity is flowing through all the bulbs. So the kshetragya is only one. It is not multiple like the kshetra. There are multitude of kshetras, multiple of objects, multiple infinite number, right? But the kshetragya is only one. The knower of the field, the experience of it, is absolute oneness. And when that oneness happens, you will not only see that that awareness, that consciousness is flowing through you, but it's also flowing through everybody else, all sentient beings, and also the insentient. You will feel that oneness. So that is the explanation of this verse. So you see now why I want to go verse by verse. There's a lot of depth in every verse. Okay, now then we'll go to verse number 3. So verse number 3 is, know me as the kshetrajna in all kshetras. That's what I was telling you, right? O Arjun, knowledge of the kshetra and kshetrajna is considered by me as true knowledge. Now, see, when Sri Krishna says, consider that by me. Now, here, I want you all to shift from being Arjun to being Krishna. See, most people when they read the Gita, they think of themselves as Arjun, the one who is learning the Gita. But for this knowledge, to understand this knowledge, you have to shift, you have to see it from the perspective of Sri Krishna. Now, it's not Sri Krishna as the personality, it is that consciousness. So now, when you look at these verses as pure consciousness and you try to understand it, the understanding will be an experience. It won't be intellectual. So now when you read this now with that awareness, read this as though it is a direct perception from your consciousness, and it is your consciousness experiencing and realizing as it is reading. Okay? So it says, know me. That conscious is saying, know me. Come and realize that this consciousness is in all objects. It is everywhere. Arjun, it's telling the ego, it is telling, it's like your consciousness is having a conversation with the ego, with your individuality, and saying, know me, that consciousness, see me in everything. And that knowledge of kshetra and kshetrajna by that wise self is considered as true knowledge. True knowledge. True knowledge is that which is the highest knowledge, which is the ultimate knowledge, and there's no other knowledge which is higher than that. That is true knowledge. Because everything else is about transient things, things which change. Knowledge about that which does not change is called true knowledge. Okay, you're with me so far, right? Okay, so we'll go to verse number 4. So verse number 4 is, what that kshetra is, of what nature it is, what are its modifications, whence it is, and also he, the kshetrajna, is, and what his powers are. These you hear from me in brief. So basically he's just Krishnji is just going, it's a summary sort of thing, table of contents he's just given here as to what he's going to cover, the knowledge that he's going to cover. And then I'll move on the 5th verse. So it says, Rishis have sung about Kshetra, Kshetrajna in many ways, in various distinctive chants, and also in the text of the well-reasoned and conclusive Brahma Sutras. So the Brahma Sutras are the commentaries on the Upanishads, and they speak at vast lengths about Brahman. So that's why it's called Brahma Sutras. So that is why he's saying that this is nothing new. This is knowledge that has already been covered in the past, in the Upanishads and in the Brahma Sutras. And all these rishis who have known the distinction about Kshetra and Kshetrajna have spoken about it before, have sung this before. So it's very interesting, that the word sung is used here. It doesn't say have preached about this or talked about this or anything. It says sung. See, what happens, I feel, is that, when that realization comes, when that experience happens of consciousness, there is so much joy, there's so much bliss that the rishis sing poems. It's very beautiful, that all these sampradayas, whether it's Christian, not Christianity so much, even in Christianity you have hymns, um, but all these books, there are hymns, the hymns are sung. So in most religions or sampradayas, you will see all these enlightened saints, beings, gurus, rishis. They will always recite poems. They will sing knowledge, and that's how knowledge is complete, because it's not coming just from intellect, or ego or something. It is a completeness of all aspects. The beauty of it is that this knowledge is sung. So if you see the brain, right, you have the brain is the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, right? So the left hemisphere is associated with knowledge, intellect, and analyzing and all that. And the right hemisphere is the creative aspect, right? The feeling, emotions, creativity. When knowledge or wisdom is complete, the brain, the mind is integrated. Both aspects are there. So you have the wisdom also, and you have the creativity also, the knowledge and creativity. So you see all these verses that are sung in this beautiful poetry and music and everything. It's beautiful. It appeals to both sides of the brain, not just one side. Because if you take knowledge and somebody is sitting there and giving you a lecture, after some time you'll tune out, because how much of intellect can you take? But when you combine it with the other aspect, the right hemisphere, it will appeal to your heart, right? The knowledge that appeals to your heart as well as to your intellect, is that knowledge is truly integrated and complete. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that is why whenever a saint will speak, it will appeal to both your intellect as well as to your heart. So these rishis have sung about the kshetra and kshetragya, distinctive chants, and also in the texts of well-reasoned and conclusive brahmanas. Okay, so verse number 6 is the great. So verse 6 and 7. Now this will go over, I mean, a little quickly. Basically, I had sent you this chart of the Tattva Bodh, right? If you remember the chart with the gross body, the subtle body, the causal body. There are 24 tattvas, 24 elements, 24 aspects of the kshetra. So it'll just going over all of these. I don't want to go over them in detail because we've covered this in the past. We had a session just on Tattva Bodh, on that chart, So I'll just read these out quickly. The great elements are basically the five elements, that, right? The space, air, fire, water, earth, and associated with that is, the senses, all of that, remember? So it says the great elements, the ego, intellect, and also the unmanifest Mula Prakriti, which is on the causal level, they are unmanifest elements. The 10 senses, the five actions of five senses of action and five senses of knowledge. This is all in that chart, okay? And the one mind and the five objects of the senses, which basically is the hearing, the seeing, and all that. Then it talks about. So these are he's here. It's described, the physical body, the causal body, and the subtle body is described there. And then the verse number 7, okay. So verse number 7 will talk about other things. So see, verse number 6 is talking about the actual tattvas, the actual physical and subtle elements, right? Now in verse number 7 it says desire, hatred, pleasure, pain, the aggregate body, the intelligence, fortitude, This Kshetra has thus briefly been described with its modifications. Now, remember I was telling you that Kshetra is not just the physical body, your breath, mind, intellect, ego, and all that, but it is everything that you experience. That is what is described here. That desire, hatred, pleasure, pain, this body, the intelligence, the fortitude, um, all of these things are the ones that you experience. So they are also part of the Kshetra. So when it comes to Kshetra, it's very easy to understand it. Why is it easy to understand? Because you experience it. It is an experience. So you have, when once you have experience of something, when you can see it, touch it, feel it, you are aware of its existence. So it's very easy to understand Kshetra. But the reason why you need to revisit this in meditation is that you should sit in meditation and you should say, okay, this is my body, these are my senses of hearing, of seeing. So when you sit in meditation, your eyes of course are closed, but you can hear, and you should say, okay, this is my hearing, it's coming, my brain is registering. And once you analyze your equipments, only when you analyze those equipments will you separate yourself from it. So don't just read it like this, but once you read it, you analyze it within this vessel that you occupy, and then slowly you will see how you will become the experiencer, you will become the witness. And then you can feel it, like, okay, this is what's running through my mind, whatever feelings are coming, whatever thoughts are coming. As you analyze it, you'll start separating from it more and more. So I don't know, you must have done the Panchakosha meditation, but a lot of that is covered in this Panchakosha meditation, how you experience layer by layer, the different layers that are in the sheath, the different sheaths of existence. So that is the purpose, that you must understand what is Kshetra. And that is why it's being explained here, so you can experience it in meditation. Okay. Then comes verse number, so there's a long explanation to 7, but for those of you who know Tattva Bodh, you don't have to go into all this long explanation. Now, from verse number 8 to, I think it is 13, now it will talk about, this is very important, mark this verse. So remember this, chapter 13, verse number 8. This is where the virtues start, and 20 virtues will be listed here. This is very important to know, because you see we are in the section about knowledge. And why is it that all these virtues are being explained here? This is about knowledge of the self. The knowledge of the self also includes the virtues of the self. The self has some innate virtues, is embedded with some natural virtues. So when we think of God, when we think of Ishwar, we know that he's benevolent, he's humble, he's this, he's that. Those same virtues are also embedded in your own self, in your Atma. So here you can see the enumeration of all the virtues of Atma. The reason why they are listed here is, in order for you to have knowledge about your own Atma, is to have those virtues flourish in you, to blossom in you, to flower in you. And as those virtues open up and they blossom, more and more you will experience your own consciousness. So that is why it's very important that that experience of self is precursored by these virtues. So it's a form of purification, to go from ego to humility. The process of going from ego to humility is knowledge, because you're going from the vices of ignorance to the virtues of self. That transition is jnana. this concept is very difficult for a lot of people to understand, They think knowledge, Jnana Yoga, is all about this huge explanation of what consciousness is, and you go on and on and on. It's not that. It is a process of becoming or returning to the self. And when you return to your own nature, these qualities will automatically blossom in you. And as these qualities blossom in you again, because they're innate in you, they're already there, but as they start opening up and flourishing, more and more you will dwell in yourself. More and more you will experience the self as these virtues flourish and blossom and open up and express themselves. Right now what has happened is they have been covered by all the vices that are caused through ignorance, So the first virtue that is listed here is humility. Right? So what is humility? I mean, it says humility, but basically amanitvam. Manitvam, amanitvam. Manitvam means me, I, ego. And amanitvam means the returning from, or the removal or the negation of ego. Okay? So amanitvam. So why is humility mentioned once? The first virtue is humility. And if you achieve humility, you would have attained a lot of these other virtues. So it is the number one virtue to attain is humility. That is why it's mentioned first. The moment you can remove the ego, automatically you will get a lot of virtues. So see how much intelligence Vedvyas had in just listing these virtues. The first virtue he mentions is humility. And there's a deep reason why he's done that. Because this is a path for the seeker. And this is something that a true seeker, a sincere seeker is working on. You really have to work on yourself. You have to live in this awareness. You have to live with this awareness, and you have to put all your intention single-mindedly on developing these virtues through purification, purifying your ego, purifying. The more you purify, the more you work on yourself through awareness, through effort. And the first thing you should do is attain humility. And automatically you will attain the rest. Unpretentiousness, non-injury, which is ahimsa, forgiveness. Now forgiveness doesn't mean, it means not to hold somebody in the wrong. See, if you never hold somebody wrong, automatically you won't have to forgive. So, and ahimsa also, this is a huge topic. Ahimsa is not just physical injury. It's also not not having those thoughts of harm for somebody. It doesn't mean, ahimsa doesn't mean just not harming anybody, any animal also, physically, but not also having any thoughts of that or intentions of harm. A lot of people, they think, I am non-violent person. But if you're holding thoughts and intentions of harm, it is himsa. And in fact, intentions are much more powerful than actions. So if you're a hypocrite then, if you have intentions and thoughts and feelings of harm, and yet you show yourself as a himsic, a person who is non-violent, is actually false. It's not right. So in each of these virtues, if you study it carefully and deeply and you work on yourself, you'll realize these virtues develop from inside out. So you have to attain it from within first. Forgiveness means not to blame somebody, not to blame other people also, and not to blame yourself also. Not to find somebody guilty, nor hold yourself also guilty. That is true meaning of forgiveness. That you don't find any guilt or blame on others or yourself in the first place. That is forgiveness. All of these things I learned many years ago from Chinmaya Mission by the Swamiji who was here, and he explained all of these so well. It was just amazing. So, Arjavam. So, Arjavam, it is the integration of personality, meaning being truthful at all levels of intention, thought, feeling, and action. That is Arjavam. It means that a person who is truthful, who is happy, is somebody who's not, says something, does something else, feels something else. I mean, there is no integrity. Arjava means integrity, being the same. Being straightforward means somebody who is not different inside and outside. There is a sameness inside and outside. That is called Arjavam. Okay. It doesn't mean to be rude and blatantly foul mouth or something. That is not Arjavam either, straightforwardness, being the same inside and outside. You know, that's why it's precursor with ahimsa. When you have that attitude of ahimsa inside, and then Arjavam also, then inside also you are free of any himsa, you're free of any blame and guilt. And then along with that comes Arjavam. Having that within, you also are the same outside as well. And then Upasanam, which is service to your teacher, service to the Guru, service to all teachers, all people who are giving you knowledge. Having that sense of service to those, even your parents, anybody, but having that sense of service to the teacher. Because, see, this Gita is also being given to all, mostly, it's to people who are brahmacharis also. So at that time in the Vedic India, the students used to stay with the teacher and they used to serve the teacher. But as we are grahasthas, it doesn't mean, you run to an ashram and serve your guru. Of course, you serve the guru, but you also serve all the sources of wisdom, wherever you're getting wisdom from, because what that does is that you bow down to that wisdom. You have humility. Only when you bow down to that source of knowledge can knowledge flow to you. If you don't have that attitude, you can never attain knowledge. Hmm? Then purity. So again, purity is not just physical purity, it's purity on all levels. And that's one thing, when we fast, we think, okay, just, having a detox diet, you're attaining, that's, you've completed your fast. It's not true. Purity, fasting, all of these things is to purify on all levels. So, you're doing the pranayamas and the meditations, being free of negative emotions and negative thoughts and impurities, all forms of impurity, impure thought, impure feelings, impure whatever. Removing all of that impurity is the purification, purity. Stherium. So steadfastness, that's pretty straightforward. Self-control, that also you'd understand. So that's a list of the virtues, and then we will go to verse number 9. Verse number 9 is indifference to the objects of senses and also absence of egoism, reflection upon the evils inherent in birth, death, old age, sickness, and pain. So, indifference to objects of the senses, it doesn't mean that you run away from the objects of senses. It doesn't mean that you run away from house and wealth and family and job and everything. You function with a attitude of indifference, meaning without attachment to them. Attachment is what brings misery. That's what brings pain. It is the indifference by which you can function in the world without the consequences or repercussions of losing things, attaining things, and everything. So it's just the indifference to objects of the senses. The absence of egoism, which is quite obvious. What you all understand what ego and arrogance is. I don't have to explain it to you here, but this sense of ego, that separation, the I-ness, is only exists when you're conscious of the other person. If you are the only person in the world, you cannot have an ego. So whenever you become conscious of what will people think about me, or how are people looking at me, and uh, when you dress up or say or act or post something on Facebook or whatever, from a sense of othership, of how others will see me, perceive me, think of me, it's very subtle. And most of this world, especially in America, is actually catering to boosting your ego. So you have to recognize all those things where you are obviously or subtly doing things uh, because you have a sense of there are other people in the world observing me, judging me, thinking of me in a certain way, liking me, disliking me, whatever. So that absence of ego, how does that absence of ego come? Through those virtues. When 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 you realize that it is only you only in everybody, you know it is you only that is shining through this person and that person and every other person. Like family, when you have a sibling, you're not that conscious. The more love is there, the more oneness, that feeling of oneness is there, lesser the ego becomes, lesser and lesser. So, and also love is sort of one of the great antidotes to ego. When you feel so much love for everybody, the ego will automatically start coming down. It'll automatically start getting subdued. Hmm? Okay, now it talks about reflection on the evils inherent in birth. So, this is, if you read it like this, you will understand what is it talking about. When you realize that pain is inevitable, that misery is, that's what Buddha also said, when pain and misery and old age are inevitable, uh, you won't suffer. So again, Sri Ravi Shankar says the same thing, pain is different from suffering. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. So when you know that as soon as you take this human body, there is birth, there's death, there's old age, sickness and pain, correct? Physical pain, right? You'll have aches and pains. When you accept it, then, and you know that you are consciousness, you're not the body, you will experience the pain, but you don't have to suffer. Suffering comes from attachment to the body, to your objects, to your feelings. Oh, I feel like this, I feel like this, that I feel, I think, I like, I don't like. And that lack of knowledge that everybody has to go through suffering. Everybody has to go through birth, death, old age, sickness, right? When you know this, when you understand this, the level of suffering will go down. So that is what this phrase here in this sentence, in this verse means. So this is something that it's easy to say, but when you are actually going through pain, and when you're actually going through old age, and as your body changes, you're good looking when you're young, and then you're getting older, and it's very hard to practice. A lot of people have a tough time practicing this. As the body starts decaying, it's very hard to detach. I mean, look around in the world. Most people want to stay young, they want to look young, they got so many accolades when they were young, but it is very hard for them to accept old age and decay and disease and lack of health. And how can this happen to me? People who have cancer or something like that, they often ask, like, why me? I'm such a good human being, why did this happen to me? You see, when you separate yourself and know that you are the eternal being, you are not the body, when you see that inner beauty, when you see that inner infinity, you will no longer be affected by the inflictions of decay, death, disease, anything that happens to the equipment. And when you see the beauty in yourself, you will start seeing that true beauty in other people also, irrespective of how they look, irrespective of how old they are, irrespective of whether, whatever position, status, beauty, anything that they have. When you that will only happen when you recognize the true beauty of your own self. And at one point it'll become so obvious that the physical appearance will become transparent. You won't, the first time you look at a person, you will only see the spark within them, the beauty of the soul within them, because you've recognized it in yourself. You will see it in the other person. You'll become oblivious to what they look like. This is knowledge, this is love, this is your soul to soul relationship with yourself and with other people. So anyway, so that, this is very important. This is the true meaning of Kshetra and Kshetrajna, to recognize the difference between the physical, the matter, and that energy, that consciousness that you are. Okay? And so verse number 10 is non-attachment, non-identification with or excessive attachment to son, wife, home, and the rest, and constant even-mindedness on the attainment of desirable and undesirable. So non-attachment, you understand, I've gone through this. Basically, you can function in the world, but you don't have to be attached. And don't this non-identification, because we have so many identities upon ourselves. I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm this, I'm this such and such person, I'm an Indian, I'm a Hindu, I'm a this, blah blah blah. Whenever you you live in this world with all these identities, you will have an issue. It doesn't mean that you don't fulfill the duties of that, or you don't. In the transactional world, you need to have these identifications, but not the attachment to it. First and foremost, your spirit. And then, of course, you have all these identities, these in the transactional world that you have to live through. But that distinction has to be maintained, that I am spirit functioning in the world as such and such. Okay? And not being attached, not being overly attached to anything, to your home, to your wife, to your son, etc. And constant even-mindedness on the attainment of the desirable and the undesirable. So it's just the constant even-mindedness. It is that, that single-pointedness, that drive, that the unwavering, not to get lost in the world and come back, and then again get lost in the world and come back, but to stay steady on this path of attaining that realization of self, to be constantly centered in the self. Because what happens, I'll tell you, you feel like you become very centered and very calm and all that stuff. And beware, because that's the still before the storm, because it's happened in my life also. You feel like you're very centered, and bang, you're given another situation that will take you off your center. It's like, it'll become tougher and tougher. It'll become tougher and tougher because you have to be more and more, that anvil, that anchor has to become stronger and stronger till it's unshakable, unmovable. So for that, you need constant even-mindedness on the attainment of the desirable. So that is talking about what are the qualities that you need to become the true seeker of the self. And then verse number 11 is unwavering devotion, ananya bhakti, to me through the yoga of non-separation, liking for solitary places, distaste for the company of men. So when it talks about the unwavering devotion to me, it means, now me again is consciousness. So you have to have that ananya bhakti, that true devotion, the unwavering devotion. towards the self, to attain that which is you, that unconditional love that is you, through the yoga of non-separation, meaning non-separation meaning stay united with your awareness, stay united with your consciousness, uh, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through constant conscious awareness, whatever, stay um, with that which is you, which is the true you, the witness, the awareness, the consciousness, and have that unwavering devotion to that one. Because what happens is, we constantly shift um, our attention from one to the next to the next. So, if one thing is not working, you go to the second thing. You say, okay, this is not working, let me try this. Whether it's going from one god to another god, or from one spiritual method to another spiritual method, or trying one thing or the other thing, we are constantly switching, to trying to find solutions in one way or the other, in one technique or the other, or one god or the other, or whatever it is. This is telling you that you find the anvil within yourself, meaning devotion to me is that consciousness, that self, that the true guru, the Satguru within you, the self within you. Anchor yourself to it, hook onto it, and do not move from it. That is Ananya Bhakti. Unwavering devotion to me through the yoga of non-separation, because yoga means union, and that implies non-separation. That is true yoga. When you're anchored in yourself, you will, you will want to be alone in solitude. You won't want a lot of noisy, crazy places. So that's what it's saying, that liking for solitary places. People who are anchored in themselves, who are in that bliss, in that peace, they would not want to be in toxic, negative environments. They would want to be in their own peaceful space. They start liking being alone. And even if they go out in the world, they are in solitude. Means you could be in a party, you could be in a meeting, but you remain within yourself. You don't get lost in it, and you don't get affected by the multitude of people and things that are happening around you. And this stays for the company of men, meaning, you like to have the company of peaceful people. You won't like company of, like a lot of loud, crazy people around you. So the more peaceful you become, the most peaceful people and environments you will seek. It's just a natural path to unfoldment, that is what will happen. It's a natural thing. Somebody who's very, like if you go to a silence course, you don't want to go into a party right after that. It's very jarring, because you've attained that silence, that peace. You want to stay with that, so that's what it means. A person who's attained that level of silence, that level of peace, will want to be alone and in silence, and will not like the company of men. And even if you are, you will sort of be within yourself. Okay, now verse number 12. What is the time? Oh, it's 8 o'clock. I was hoping I'll finish this section. Let me just read this verse, okay, quickly. Constancy in self-knowledge, perception of the end of true knowledge. This is declared to be knowledge, and what is opposed to it is ignorance. We'll cover this a little bit more in the next session. Constancy in self-knowledge, perception to the end of true knowledge. Again, this is again talking about the path, for the seeker. This is declared to be, there's not too much over there that you can read. You can read it as it is. And then this is the last verse of this section. So verse number 13. So he says, now he'll go into the next section here, where it says, I will declare that which has to be known knowing which one attains immortality. The beginningless supreme Brahman is said to be neither existent nor existent. So, neither existent nor non-existence. Now, this will now start the next section about the self, Brahman. So, the first section, that was it was talking about the Ch13, right? Then the second section from verse 8 to number 12 is talking about all the virtues that have to flourish, those virtues which are innate in yourself, which are innate in Atma. That is till verse number 12. And then next session we'll start with verse number 13. Okay? Do you guys have any questions? Nice chapter, no? I can't hear you, Seema, if you're saying something.
I said very nice.
It's very nice. I love these chapters.
It is interesting to see that so many thousands of years ago, the virtues that were sought and listed are still relevant.
Yeah, you brought up a very, very good point. See, virtues are eternal. The methods can be modern. So the whatever methods, whether it's a yogic methods are also eternal, but you see the world keeps changing, right? And so we must understand that the way we implement those virtues, like now we have jobs, we are like in a modern world. So virtues, the implementation, the method, the expression has to be according to time and place, which century, whatever. That is why in the Gita only the virtues are mentioned, because virtues are eternal. It will not give, it's not like a rule book, Gita is not a rule book, because see what happens, any rule you give, it is limited. Rules apply to time and place. Even constitutions have to be amended. So whether it's thousands of years ago or whether it is today, these virtues will remain applicable. They don't change. I was just talking about this with somebody actually in Pakistan. I was telling her that, that the values are eternal and methods have to be modern. Any other questions?
The purity, I believe, purity refers to purity of body, mind, and speech. Anything else beyond that?
We'll cover that in chapter 17. But yes, you're correct. Purity is of all levels. So you do your yoga, your diet, your pranayams, the meditation. So you have all your bodies, right? The physical body, the subtle body, the causal body. It's a purification of all levels.
Oh, you are going beyond that also, sir. Body and causal level. Okay, I
Oh,
was sure
causal is
body,
the main thing.
Maya,
Once you
that
purify the causal body, you're liberated. So yeah,
correct.
it's all levels.
Okay.
Sauchyam, which you call pavitrata. It's called pavitrata in Hindi or Sanskrit. Sauchyam is called here in the Gita. The virtue is saying in this thing, Arabic. It's called Pak. That's why it's called Pakistan. Pak, purity, Pak, Pavitrata, Sauchyam.
Thank you. Yeah, got it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's really dive into this chapter. It's a very popular chapter, this one and chapter 15. I love all of these chapters from 13 to 18. I love all of them. They are so amazing. But for me it's an experience, it's not knowledge. When I remember many years ago, I actually was I'm so grateful that I learnt it verbally through the Swamiji in Chinmaya Mission. And when I sat there, I was just like in awe as he spoke. And you know, it was it wasn't knowledge. You know, it was a aha. You know, that realization. Yes, yes. You know, so make this as a realization. Otherwise, there'll be no evolution. It'll just be an intellectual understanding of the Gita. So make it a realization as you read it, as you hear it. Okay. All right. So we'll meet again next week, and I'll put this recording on my blog. If you get a chance, just listen to it again. I'm going through this chapter a little slowly because I want you to really absorb every aspect of it. That's why I'm going verse by verse. Okay.
Very true.
All right.
Thank you.